keep us informal and stay seated, or do y'all want us to stand?
What do you need to do?
What we need to do, then I'm going to stay seated.
All right.
And I'm going to have my water ready because I'm recovering from a cold.
All right, so are you ready?
Yes.
All right, go.
My name is Alex Crunkleton. I have a master's degree in history from Clemson. I am pursuing a PhD in policy studies from Clemson. It's one of the smallest departments on campus. It's one of the smallest departments represented here. I think only Laura is our representative, so we're pretty alone in this. But what I've done over my time here, in addition to getting my degrees, is serve in Senate for 2 terms. I have, after that, served as the Chief of Staff for President Simon Lee. And as part of that, I've been on innumerable committees on PEG reform, on the Graduate Research and Discovery Symposium, on the creation of a workshop series for international students, lots of different things. In my experience and through research into the former President Parker's 2020 plan, the Graduate Student Comprehensive or Strategic Plan, and a massive, massive survey over graduate students that was conducted in the spring of 2013, I've created what I think is a platform of manageable, attainable goals rather than unrealistic ones. They are built on 3 simple bases of community, collaboration, and communication. These are 3 things I just believe in, period, but I especially believe for graduate students. First of all, we graduate students, no matter how disparate we are or pretend to be, are a community. We are an extended family on this campus, and we should be represented as such, and we should fight for that much. What I plan to do to enhance community on this campus is, first of all, continue the fight for a student affairs position geared toward graduate students that is within the university. Someone who's within student affairs, who cares about the community that we have on campus, and even extended to places like Greenville and Charleston. I also plan on fighting for graduate student child care on campus, because that's been an issue that's been raised repeatedly in history. I also plan on attempting to create, I don't know the possibility of this, even within the next 2 terms, but I'm going to fight the fight to create a graduate student center on campus where all of the activities that we graduate students care about as far as the university is concerned are housed, so it's easier to find. I also really hope to expand orientation to make this place a welcoming place for graduate students, and that will also include something, a pet project of mine that I would love to do, which is a graduate student oriented tour. I also believe in collaboration. I believe in the collaboration between students, facilitated through programs like the Grads event, but also collaboration between students and faculty. Students and faculty, not only within their majors, you get that enough, but students and faculty at large. And I think we can do that by operating strongly through our faculty senate liaison, who is Senator Rouse this year, is not? Yes. In enhancing his successor's power and his abilities, being in more regular communication with the faculty, being in more regular communication with offices on campus. Bernardo Dargan, our advisor, cannot do this alone. And so we need to enhance the number of people that are working for graduate students on this campus. Finally, I believe in the idea of communication. We should have a good communications plan that uses social media, that uses supplementary emails, that uses the website, which, as you can see, is under a massive overhaul. But within that, I have my own ideas beyond their overhaul. The creation of a portal that helps senators do their jobs better, with survey tools, things like that. Basically, what I want is to enhance graduate student life in an easy, attainable way. Not easy for me working, but things that I think can actually happen. And I hope you consider me as your candidate.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming. I know that most of you guys are here are senators, and you guys are maybe obligated to be here, but I know that some of you aren't, and I appreciate you taking time away from personal lives and maybe families, and so I really appreciate that. My name is Ryan Hiel. I'm a PhD student in educational leadership. I've been studying leadership for a good while now. But I came to Clemson a few years back from California, and I came to pursue a master's degree, and I'm on now year 4 of my 2-year plan and pursuing my 2nd degree. It's been a great journey. My experience here has been wonderful. I got to experience a lot of things that maybe many grad students haven't had the opportunity to. But I've also had the opportunity to see where a lot of the shortcomings are in the graduate student experience. I've identified some pretty major ones in my platform statement, from the communication, as Alex touched on, and to enhancing the parking accommodations for graduate assistants, and in changing the way the graduate student community collaborates and making it far more inclusive and active. Those are some of the things that I touched on in my platform statement. But I'm not arrogant enough to sit here in front of you guys and say that I know all the major issues and I have them all down right, nor am I arrogant enough to sit here and say that I have all the answers. I'm confident enough to tell you that as president, I would like to bring in a team of people from across campus and across departments to come in and kind of triage these issues, look at them, talk it out, collaborate through to identify the most pressing major issues that can make the biggest difference in the lives of graduate students at Clemson. And then I'd go fight. I'd go fight and do it. And I believe that the true power of a leader isn't necessarily in his specific ideas, but it's in his ability to build and cultivate effective relationships. Power is in getting the right people in the room, sitting around the table, talking about the major issues, collaborating to find the best possible solution. I've done that before. I will continue to do that again. 2 years ago, we did that with the student ticket policy here, something that said, hey, it's too major, it couldn't be done. Okay, there's too many moving parts and there's too much money involved. And we got the right people in the room, and if you'd asked me 2 years ago what it would look like at the end, I would have said, I have no idea. But it turned out that it worked out. Right now we're doing the same process with ticket distribution, but that's just kind of been my scope of influence currently. As president, I want to fight for bigger issues and see bigger change. I know that when we look at our graduate experience here at Clemson, it's good. We all enjoy it. We're all involved, but there's some major things that need to change. I kind of come from the school of dream big. I think that true change doesn't really happen unless you go at it aggressively. And I plan to do that. I will do that to the best of my ability, and I've built some great relationships for the past 4 years here across campus, and they've been strengthened, and we've been able to see some change from that. But I'll continue to do that more as president and continue to involve more people to enact some of the changes that I talked about in my platform. And I'll maybe leave that open to more specific questions that you might have later on. And again, I really appreciate your time.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to be here. I know a lot of you do not know me. My name is David Parker, and I actually graduated from Clemson in May of 2013 with my undergrad degree in political science and industrial engineering. I'm currently a master's student right now in industrial engineering, and it's been a very eye-opening experience coming into graduate school, especially being here at Clemson. I've seen a lot of the opportunities they offer undergrads, and it kind of surprises me coming into the graduate school, why don't we have some of those same opportunities? Especially since we are such an important part of this university. Coming in, I see students constantly in communication with administration. I hope to advocate on behalf of the graduate student government, as I did when I was in undergraduate student government here at Clemson, to really connect our ideas, our thoughts, our needs to the administrators, to the department chairs, to the college deans, and everyone that we need to make this a reality. Part of my platform is I really want to make sure there's more transparency of what the administration is doing for graduate students. We have fees that sometimes it's not fully described where it's going. I think we can reallocate some of those fees and eliminate some of those fees so that way we can better utilize the money that we're spending at Clemson to the resources we want to use. I also think graduate assistantships coming in are not very clear and transparent. We have a website where you can look for graduate assistantships, but it doesn't list all the graduate assistantships available. Also, it doesn't really explain how those are determined in your department and how feedback you can possibly give into getting assistantships. I know there's a lot of diversity, but there's a lot of opportunity exploring some central options we can give to students. Another thing, though, is I've been looking at a graduate identity. One of the things that undergrads do very well is they all center around a theme of ideas of what they want. And I want to make sure we take those ideas that y'all have, that graduate students have, and we really fight for them here at Clemson and create a graduate identity so that way we can advocate successfully for what you're looking for. The other thing I think, though, is that a lot of our environments for graduate students are not necessarily up to par. They're constantly renovating undergraduate areas, undergraduate offices, and I think as a graduate student we need more space for our work. We also need more space for our offices and our graduate spaces. So I want to work on upgrading the ones we have and advocating for more. The other thing I also want to do, though, again, is communication. Coming in as a brand new graduate, you don't necessarily experience as much of the communication from the school. You get a few emails here or there, but you're left a lot to your department. So I want to make sure we really reach out to these new incoming graduate students and current graduate students and make sure they know exactly what's happening in Senate, what exactly is happening in graduate student government. So that way their voices can be heard in this room, but also that way their ideas can be actually enacted and they be acted upon. Because students are our best asset. And together as a team, we can successfully advocate for the great things that Clemson have.
Hi, I'm Danielle Zanzalari. I am a PhD student in economics. I'm in my 4th year. Many of you may recognize me because I've been involved for 3.5 years in graduate student government. So one of my biggest strengths is that I am well aware of what we do in GSG, what we do well, what we're currently doing, and what we can do better. Okay? And what I've found is that graduate students, they're either involved with research, teaching, or taking classes. And they all have one goal, and it's to get a good job when we get out of here. And either that's in academia, doing research, or in academia, not doing research and just teaching, or a combination. Or you have no interest in research and you just want to get a good job. So my main goal of what I want to do with GSG is still pursue the things that we do as graduate students every day, which is this researching and networking. Okay, we want to use our biggest asset and promote cross-departmental relationships, to foster new research ideas, to foster new relationships in general, whether they be friendships or to create new ideas. And I want to use the thing that we do best, which is research and networking, to do that. One of the ways that I want to do that is to continue to promote the grads event that Jesse and his committee, which I am on, has been working on for over the past 2 years and continue to make that better. We've been pushing for a research month, and we're slowly getting there, adding more events. I want to add more. I want to add more speakers, more workshops here to really make this event big. I want people to know that graduate students are a big deal on this campus. We do a lot. We're researching, and we're doing very good things. Along with that, we started a program, Dialogue with the Dean. Yes, we're meeting in April, and we met in the fall, and I want to continue that program. I also want to include deans of each respective college. So many of you might not have met the deans from college, many of you maybe have. But those opportunities and those networks are really important. They foster new relationships for jobs. Maybe you get to talk to a dean and they find out and really like what you're doing for research, and they know a colleague or alumni that directly does something with what you're doing. And those relationships are really important to foster. And I think with GSG, we have to be the facilitator there to create those opportunities. So I want to increase the dialogue with the Dean Series. I also want to highlight, Researcher of the Month. Most graduate students are doing research, and we should be promoting that. Other schools that are similar to us and do research and are ranked higher than us do promote graduate students via their websites. I also want to offer a monetary award so that encourages people to get involved and get really excited about research. I also want to communicate with the local community, get kids involved. We're the future scholars coming up for our society, but kids are going to be replacing us. And if you want your field to keep thriving and growing and your research to be exciting to the young generation, you really need to get the community involved. And I want to do that by creating a research day. I also want to increase the PEG budget. The past administrations have successfully been able to do that the last 3 years, and I want to continue to do that. That provides more travel awards for each one of you and everybody in your department. Also, we've all talked about communication being really important, and I think that through research and through networking, that's how we can really get our name out there. What we're doing, what we do every day. I think what Kenneth Duckworth has done with the calendar is great, but I want it on our GSG website. I want a calendar of social events that are going on campus that we're doing with our organizations committee, with our organizations and our activities committee, and I also want a research calendar, research and networking, so you can look at any day of the week and know what activities and research is going on. I have more to say, but if you have any questions, it's along those 2 lines of communication, promoting research and networking opportunities on campus. So thank you, and
Okay, so I'm going to open the floor for questions after this very pragmatic question. Actually, I chose the practical one to start you guys off. So, the offices of President and Vice President of GSG are incredibly time-consuming, and they're going to engage your life in ways that you have maybe seen happen to others and maybe haven't so much. So how have you prepared to take on that enormous responsibility, and especially the time management that's going to go into that? So where are you in your program, and how are you coping with this? And anybody can answer it. Right?
I mean, I'll take that one first. I can tell you that coming back to grad school and doing graduate student work from the world of college athletics is a dramatic change in pace. I think as a college baseball coach, you're asked to do a lot. You're on the road recruiting every night, you're on the phone till 10, you have a team to coach, you have development plans. And at smaller schools, you're in charge of academics with your students as well. So I can tell you that the workload at a PhD level is a lot, but it is not nearly as time consuming as my life previously was for like the last 6 years. During my program, I'm done with my coursework at the end of this summer, and I will be straight on with the dissertation. And I'm ready to do it, and I'm going to be more than willing to take as much time and as many times as it takes. And I've sat on a number of boards throughout my last 3 years here all across campus that have required a lot of time, so I don't think I'll be any stranger to the time requirement.
The same boat as Ryan. I've finished my coursework now. I'm only taking just fun electives right now and dissertation hours. So I'll be doing the dissertation hours phase next year. And so that my academic career won't really be taking up that much time. But I think it's important to note that the entire time that I've been a student here, I've balanced between 2 and 3 jobs and a full academic load every semester since I was a history student. And when I began as a history student, I actually commuted from Georgia here. And I balanced all of that at the exact same time as I was becoming involved in graduate student associations in the departmental level and then here. So time management for me is a skill that I've gotten nailed. I know exactly what I can do and cannot do, and I am perfectly capable of delegating positions and responsibilities and authority, but at the same time, I'm an incredibly hard worker, and I have all the time in the world to dedicate to our cause.
I want to speak on that too. They made both very good points. Like Ryan and Alex, I'm done with my coursework, so I don't have to take classes. I'm just in the form of writing my dissertation. I'm going into my last year. I've been involved with GSG. I've considered running in the past years, but it wasn't until this point where I really felt that I know enough about GSG, and I had the definite time commitment to give up to furthering graduate issues. And this is the right year for me, and I feel so knowledgeable about GSG, and I'm very confident and comfortable that I can get the job done.
Well, I actually have classes. But since I did my undergrad here,
Call to order, please. Let's hear.
since I did my undergrad here at Clemson, I'm very familiar with my department, with Clemson University, and working with administration. In my undergrad, I was involved with 7 organizations at the same time, and president of 3, while taking 21 hours and working 2 jobs. So graduate school has actually been kind of an interesting world because it's easier, which is normally not the case. But this is what I love. I love advocating for students, working with people, and I did get my undergrad in political science. So this is really right up my alley, and industrial engineering is about efficiency. So we strive to make things more efficient, and so that's one of the things that I do personally, is make sure I maximize my potential for graduate student government. But I've been extremely excited to be here, and I really want to work with them more.
Here's what you can see the folders. And then
I've been in my position for 3 years now, and with both the president, which is the executive cabinet, and the vice president, the other committee members, I see this every year. We're very poor at transitioning between positions. We switch over in May, and no one really does anything until it takes sometimes all the way to October before people get into the run of it. What way can we make transitions within these committees and cabinet that will be working for you smoothly?
I'll go ahead and start with that. I worked with University Housing for 4 years, and they are experts in transition. I attended numerous conferences to figure out ways to actively engage people and ensuring that things will continue beyond your term. One of the things that I love working with people is really documenting what you've done. So that way you have a strong basis of where you can continue from what the previous people have done, but also making sure you have that contact with the previous years and making it fun. Because transitions sometimes can seem very rushed because you're near the end of the period, but if they're fun and engaging, like a retreat, and different things, get people really engaged in the process of transition. There's a lot of opportunities for them.
I'd like to follow up on that. I think that shadowing people that are currently doing the job for the last month, once elections are announced next week, you have a solid month and a half, actually more than that, about 2 months, where you can really get involved. And I think a good idea that hasn't been done before is for both people to sort of sign off saying that they fully understand what's going on. And if they don't, that's their time to ask questions. And we've always had people be in contact with other people in positions, so the organization cheer up, you can contact the other one usually, but you have a formal documentation and 2 months to work and shadow each other. That's beneficial.
My simple answer, Jesse, it begins with a question, is why do we wait so long? There's no point in delaying the transition period. I'm not saying we go ahead and boot someone out immediately. That's not the case. Most people, like your event, will only be occurring in April. So you can't, it's difficult to transition at the same time. But we should begin these transitions earlier, when we still have those people around, before they graduate, before their time commitments with their theses and their dissertations take over. The transition has to start earlier. Saying that we would like to have more documentation and more shadowing going on, that's wonderful, but there's a problem in that that should have already been happening by this point. Committee should have successors lined up. Committee should have people with ideas who are going to be taking over. There should be documents. We can't make that happen. We can't manifest it up in air. So the best we can do is just start early and hit it hard.
To add to Alex's point, which was a good point, that we should start this way. I'm not.
Go for it.
To add to your point, it was a really good point that we should start this earlier. What the finance committee does is that Wesley Harris, who's the finance chair now, he recommends someone from his committee that's been sitting on it for the current year to take over as the head position next year. And likewise, just adding on to Alex's point, which is good, is that other committees should do the same. They should self-promote within the committee when someone's already been used to what's going on.
I will say that Alex and I probably have a slight advantage that we've both been in the executive cabinet for the last year. I've been there like Jesse for the last 3 years. So I've seen this happen several times now. I will say that changing culture is not always easy, and it starts with building a collaborative culture. So the people that I would be bringing in around my cabinet would either be the existing people that would be good about it, or people that I feel might do a better job, and it's building that collaborative culture for them to reach out, understand their positions, understand our mission with what we'd like to do, and move forward to learn how to integrate that so we hit the ground running by the time we get there.
So, in my 6 years here, I've seen a lot of things in the graduate school get a lot better, but I've of course seen a lot of things get worse as well. For one example, particularly the rising cost of living in Clemson, as opposed to the stagnant graduate student pay. And while that's not the question I'm asking about, because I know what all of you are going to say, I've investigated that problem myself, and it presents a number of very strong, very hard to surmount inter-organizational, interdepartmental, intercollegiate problems that require not just a good cause or good rhetoric, but also a matter of collaboration that, quite frankly, at this level is hard to wrangle. So my question is, what are you guys going to do, and how are you going to tackle the hard problems that graduate students face that are not isolated to a particular department, a particular college, or even the university in particular, but rather between us and our peer institutions?
If you don't mind me taking this, if you don't mind me standing up, like my knees are not great right now, but
Can't all be Paul.
I apologize. But I tell you what, in the 3 years I've been doing this and the many boards I've sat on, one thing has become abundantly clear. There are a number of subcommittees that are created, from student affairs to, like you mentioned, interdepartmental things. And most of the time, what you'll see is a group of 7 or 8 in a subcommittee with one graduate student representative. The graduate students are woefully underrepresented in many different subcommittees and committees and influencing bodies around campus. And one of the things that we need to do as far as amplifying our voice as a graduate school, and amplifying our voice of advocacy, is to push to create more of a presence on boards, more of a presence on committees, more of a presence around campus. We can't really get the type of the exposure that we need to try to create that problem. We can't have the dialogue that we need to create and communication we need to have without having the presence on the board. You can't have 7 undergraduates saying, this and this and this needs to happen, and one grad student saying, but, for our group, this is important. and them going, well, yeah, but. And then that committee making a recommendation just doesn't work very well. And I think you start to see, it further disenfranchises us as a population. And so one of the things I would do is push to create more spots. And every single opportunity we have, an IT, Student Affairs Advisory Board, the one we sit on, let's bring some more graduate students on that. And the Student Affairs Advisory Board, bring some more graduate students on that. The Tobacco-Free Task Force, we got Hamilton on that finally. We need more representation in many different departments around campus to try to amplify our voice, to bring about concerns and discussions about the proper concern.
I agree with Ryan, but I think more needs to be done beyond that, because as of yet, we have only just now received our real, other than Bernardo, our real first graduate student-oriented position within the university graduate school as a whole in Kennedy Duckworth. We still are woefully underrepresented within the staff, within the administration, within the goals of student affairs. Student affairs encompasses not just the fun events on campus, but what it's like to be a student. We need a voice for us in that office, day in, day out. The president can do that. They can work as hard as they can, but they can't be there all the time. They do have work. Simon can attest to that. He can't be there every day knocking down the doors. What we need is someone who can be, who is literally in that hallway. And that's a fight I'm willing to fight, to get that person in there.
I have 2 points to add. So my main goal is to research, to connect people, and do networking to connect people. So getting our names out there and networking with faculty and deans will open up some communications, hopefully, and create the buzz that graduate students are doing very important things. That's the first case. The second case is part of what I want to do on the website is we've all been in here, and Hamilton's been asking us, please, I need a person for this committee, or I need 2 for this committee. There's all these committees that are going on at the administrative level where Brian says we want 1 spot, and it's true, we have 1 spot in most of these committees. But we have a lot of these committees and we forget about them or don't hear about them. It'd be great to have that on the website and have all these committees that we're on, what their main issues are, and that way any graduate students can say, oh, hey, there's this faculty task force, what is this? I want to get involved with this as well. So not just through Senate and having this 1 spot, but when people know more about the committees that are going on campus, they can choose to participate and choose to reach out and really push the envelope on being involved in this.
I'm sorry to jump on you real fast, David, but this is just because she just mentioned something that I have in my campaign platform. One thing I'd like to see is something I've thought about a lot is the creation of sort of an administrative portal within our website that is geared towards what Senate and what you as senators and these executive officers do and will be doing. Things that make your jobs easier, things that keep up with the different meetings you are going to, that let students know, because we're effectively at the town hall of the graduate student community. Let students know what we're doing, what we're up to, what meetings we're going to, and giving them sounding board within that, and also a way for the Senate to distribute information better to students, where we can log all, not just our past bills, but things we're discussing, where we can have survey tools for senators to distribute to their constituents, and you can get feedback constantly, because all that is just as important, which is sort of what Danielle's talking about.
I agree with my peers. One of the things I have been doing is I serve as the president of the College of Engineering and Science Student Advisory Board. It's the first student advisory board that has graduates and undergraduates as a dual board. And we're actually petitioning soon graduate student government and undergraduate student government to create a joint organization that's represented by both. So really reaching out to bridge the gap to undergrads, because not only do we necessarily need to get our voice out, we need to again collaborate with all the different departments, administrators, and our peer institution organizations here at Clemson, because they can help serve our interests and needs too, because they have the resources. But one of the things that I think we also need is a little more awareness of what the university is doing. I actually served on the tobacco task force as an undergraduate, and I actually came to Hamilton and said, why is there not a graduate on this board? So that's something that there is a lot of opportunities at Clemson. I think as the vice president and as the president, we can reach out and really, again, get our people on the boards, but also make sure that we know about what boards are.
So Jen, and then
Sam? Were you still talking?
Oh, sorry.
sorry, I was trying to move it.
It's all right. I was just going to follow up on this one point. Everybody's kind of touched on how the communication can be enhanced. And one of the things that I'm very good at, I'm specialized at, I started creating a social media consulting company. One of the things that we haven't really talked much about is the power of social media. the power of creating something that is constantly updated, constantly keeping people in the loop on social media. Not just a portal, not just a website, but something that we can post, something that senators can tweet at, something that people can have a dialogue, a two-way communication street. If you need something, hey, we have the Tobacco-Free Task Force, here's an update and it points us to our website. If we have a great graduate presentation of a research project, hey, it points us to our YouTube page. It connects us with professionals in the field, it connects us with graduate students, it connects us with what's going on out in the real world. Something, we can do that. It's going to take a team. Can't be just a job of one person, but it certainly is possible, and it is where the future is going with everything else.
So my question was, I've been involved with graduate student government. It just seems that over the years, we see a lot of the same faces here at Senate and at the social events and at the grad research events, and it's great. We're all here because we like to be involved, or we're probably, into that kind of stuff. But the majority of grad students that are here, for being realistic, don't really want to be involved, don't want to take on extra tasks, aren't interested in these things, and we really struggle, just like what Jessica was saying, get these departments, get these other people to want to do this, to participate, go to the activities, engage with new people. And so I guess my question to you all is, I think you all have a lot of really good ideas, but how do you also propose to just get people to care? Not the usual crew, but also, where we're not struggling to get people on those committees, or we just have the same people doing it.
I think one of the best ways to tackle that is creativity. There's some already great things at Clemson that we can tap into, so we don't necessarily have to do it ourselves. I know the president of Clemson Live. Why not at Clemson Live and directed it towards graduate students, because they have the budget and the capabilities to do these large-scale events. Also, though, I think that in the creativity, you really got to find ways that students want to be engaged. Find what they're interested in, really reach out to them, and then make them a part of the process. Because if they're engaged in the process, it's not just seeing something happen, it's making a difference.
Go ahead.
Okay, on that point, Clemson Live is an undergraduate student organization funded by undergraduate student government. So funding a graduate student event, undergraduate budget is not going to be fine. We can put on a similar organization if that's what we feel we need, but that's just not an overnight flip. What I think is that things that we do as graduate students is research, is teaching, is classes. These are things that every single one of us have done, or is doing one of them, or all three of them, or in combination currently. Keep providing these networking events. Have a central location on this website of GSG we were talking about. Put on more events that are catered to students and what they're currently doing. Bring in top-notch people in our university, faculty, deans, people in positions that aren't faculty or deans, but student affairs, all these people that are here to help and network with and show that these events are really important to a student's life. Everybody wants a job, everybody wants a good job when they get out of here, okay? So we promote those events and the events that students do every day. That's going to foster people getting more involved in GSG and maybe going to social events, trivia, and those sort of things.
Okay. To a point, I agree with Danielle, but to a point I also disagree. Focusing on research and focusing on our careers is what's led us to this point, where we become entrenched in silos and we become entrenched in the library in front of our computers. What we need is a student life center. We need some form of central place. And it's going to start off small. I'll go ahead and tell you that. We're not going to have a brand new building like the Academic Success Center thrown us on campus. But we can have something on this campus, an office beyond our simple little office in 702 Union, that is a place where students can come, where they can meet, where they can find someone there who can answer questions, where they